You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 82nd episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. My name is Tim Hayes. I'm in Orlando, Florida.
I'm Matt Allen. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And I am Spencer Howe in Boston, Massachusetts, where we've all gotten very formal this week.
Yeah, just trying to mix it up, guys. Now that we're in 82 episodes in, I feel that we're getting close to cracking that top 150 ranking in the iTunes charts. Since Apple has redone the iTunes charts, it's hard to see microscopically where we're at, because we used to be in about the 150 range of the amateur charts, amateur sports. So I think we're just going to really have to step up our game here. So
you think formality is the way?
You think we can bridge that gap and make the jump to Cat 3 elite sports instead of just amateur sports?
Yeah, and that, yeah, Spencer, I do. I firmly believe we have what it takes. We've been training hard, 82 weeks in, and this week we're going to talk a lot about the mundane time of year that we are in. We are in cyclocross only. We're in the dregs of road and mountain bike news. And so we're really going to just kind of build up our own race resume and see what we can do to get an upgrade. And then maybe at the end we will we'll give ourselves a ranking.
Okay.
Well, the problem with that is going to be you need a certain number of racers to get upgrade points. And we never have enough people on the podcast to get upgrade points. Like maybe when we have a guest, we have 4 people, we maybe one of us can get 1 upgrade point.
Yeah, maybe. And only if we separate out the guests from the hosts, because we all got to be in the same category. And, let's be honest, we've had some Cat 5 guests. We've had some pro guests.
Who was our Cat 5 guest? Who are you gonna call
let's let Tim say this
one. Come back.
I'm assuming that Results Boy of crossresults.org does not listen to our podcast. So I think that he'd probably be the easiest one to throw under the bus. And then Meyerson and Eric Saunders are at the top with Mo Bruno Roy. A Cat 1, a solid Cat 1 would be Matt Roy. So maybe Results Boy is kind of in that Cat 3 level. Now, I think that we definitely need to step up our game. And there's a couple of people that are at the top of my list. And I don't know if you guys have a list or people that you're thinking of as far as who we should interview.
Tom Boonen.
I think that sometimes you shoot for the moon, Spencer, and you land among the stars. So we can try to get a Tom Boonen, and then maybe when we don't get a Tom Boonen, we get a Patrick Lefebvre interview instead.
That'd be good too.
That would be pretty awesome.
Let's get a Mark Matteo if we're going for team directors.
Oh, that could be good.
That'd be insanity.
Do you think we could get
fabulous? What
about Jim Okowitz? I mean, this could be
his. Come on our podcast.
This could be.
I'm gonna come right out now and say I bet we can't because he's a terrible person. Shouldn't be in sport.
Probably not going to get an little guy. Remember, we're trying to kill him with kindness.
Yeah, we're trying to butter him up here.
All right, so I definitely think so. Here's my list. We should definitely get Dan Craven to do an interview, and I think that one can be done.
A long time coming.
The only, he's got a new team. He cut off the man bun. I don't know if you saw his Instagram.
No.
He is going with a little bit more refined look now. It's a new era. This is our favorite winner of Trobro Leon, where he won the pig. So that one we can get. The next one I think that we should really go after is the new USA Cycling president, Derek Bouchard-Hall, who Adam Meyerson had great things to say about it. And, to be perfectly honest, guys, you saw it. I blind carbon copied you on the email. Maybe I even carbon copied you.
I think he's green enough around the gills in the job that he doesn't really know yet what a mistake it would be to come on the show. So there's a good chance. Yeah, there's a good chance.
When we gotta
so maybe we can frame it with him as a mistake not to come on the show. Because let's be perfectly honest. This guy is trying to educate the masses. And just last week on this wonderful journalistic of integrity podcast. That's not even a word, journalistic, or maybe it is. Little guy, you were complaining about $15 one-day licenses. And did you see the announcement from USA Cycling just this past Friday?
No.
They are dropping the price of one-day licenses back down to $10.
That's awesome.
They have introduced a new one-day license structure for anyone that wants to do a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, or Cat 4 race. You must register online. So my understanding of that is that if you are in the past were a license holder that was a Cat 3 and you want to go race, with your buddies, but you don't have a USA Cycling license, you can pull a one-day license to go do that Cat 3 race with your buddies.
Really?
So it kind of
you had to have one
against,
in the past.
I don't know yet. That's my understanding. It would seem to still a little like the press release was very simple in bullet point, but they didn't really spell out how the mechanics. My understanding or my interpretation would be that you had to have had a racing existence. You can't just be some guy off the street that says I'm going to go do a Cat 1-2 race because there'd be those safety liabilities. But maybe if you're a former 1-2 that know what's going on, it doesn't really make sense. And we've experienced this before. Yeah. I mean, there's some really top-level guys out of Minnesota that we used to race with. Remember Owen Thole? That dude would win every Cat 4-5 race ever, but he would never upgrade to 3, where now the new thing would be, they're keeping track of his results, so then when he would do a one-day license the next year, he would be in the Cat 3s. Because he definitely deserved to be at that level, but he didn't want to spend the $60 or $70 for the whole license. This is years ago, but it kind of makes sense. I'm pretty excited about that change.
That makes a lot of sense. And anytime they reverse the trend of everything getting drastically more expensive, I'm excited. It never gets incrementally, it never gets 10% more expensive. It always gets some, large amount. It's.
I mean, this is. Yeah. There's
great.
Lots
That's
of things. Great. And then also to continue, the real headline of this, and Kaylee Fretz of Velo News did a whole story on this on Friday, was that they're tripling the anti-doping testing in the amateur categories. And so the way they're going to do that is that the riders
So wait, are they doing 3 tests now?
I know. Well, here in Florida, it's a lot. But
in Florida it'll be 400 tests, and the rest of the country will be 7 now.
Yeah.
So here's how it's going to be. To fund this, the annual amateur license is now going to be $73 rather than $70. So it does go up a little bit. But if you're a pro or international elite level license, is going up $50, which all of that extra money gets directed to anti-doping. So if you're at that higher level,
$50.
So if you're a pro,
if I buy the crazy ass UCI license, so I can do my
that's $175, right, little guy?
Do drink.
Is that one?
I don't remember what it was. It was so much money. So that's going to go up to do my 3 races.
Well, all I'm seeing is international elite licenses move from $175 to $200 per year, so a $25 increase to cover that. So the idea is that it's going to be more money into the kitty. Now, the insurance costs increase slightly to $3.60 for promoters, but if you're only putting on a rec event, it actually drops down a little bit. So you're doing a Grand Fondo or something, it's only $225.
Yeah, they don't need doping controls. That's perfect.
So I know, right? So it seems that they're trying to refine things, and I really like that they're dropping the one-day license. And honestly, I think $73 for a license with USA Cycling really isn't that bad. Personally, I would probably spend up to $100 for an annual license with USA Cycling. That's just me. Because I find a little bit of value, and I don't mind supporting the Olympic movement if the money is being used correctly. And it does seem that he's bringing in some actual financial standing I don't know if any of this extra money is going to Fat Bike Nationals, but that could be a question we could ask him. We could ask him, President Hall, are you going to continue the tradition of a sitting USA Cycling president becoming a Fat Bike National champion?
He's certainly has the experience in bike racing to make it happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that this is the type of these are the questions he wants to answer, and we're here to provide him the opportunity to answer those questions.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to have to race with all these Cat 4, Cat 5 fat bikers. Like, I want my own, elite level fat bike category. So, I'd be willing to pay another $50, $60, $100, and $200 for another license just to allow me to get some fat bike, notoriety.
Well, it should be also age category at the same time though, so you can do like Cat 2 35 plus, because you don't want to race with guys
I want a medal
level that are
I didn't show up
age.
to not get a medal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a new dawn, Spencer. If you wanted to show up and win Fat Bike Nationals, you probably had to go last year. Yeah. First year, lots of things up in the air. It's definitely going to be the target of a lot more racers this year because they're looking at it going like, wow, I probably could have won that and then gotten the stripes on my shoulders.
But when do you get to wear those? You can only wear them during a fat bike event.
Sure, but I think the key is to get the stripes on the shoulders.
There's a lot of fat bike events, man.
Do you remember how a lot of guys would show up at the track every now and then in Minnesota? And they'd have the red, white, and blue stripe on their shoulder, and then they're like national champion at the Masters, 75 plus Team Pursuit or whatever the combined age were. So
1981, where there are 3 people.
Yeah. So I think that this could
that's
be
the only way we got medals.
It's true.
You know it, man.
It is.
We've all got a pile of medals somewhere. I know mine are in a drawer. Upstairs at the house for getting like 3rd place out of 3 riders in the Cat 4-5 4,000 meter pursuit. Yeah. Just like the dumbest stuff.
Well, I was Masters state champion of the Omnium at the track.
There
gold
you go.
medal. That's a gold medal, and there were more than one person in that field.
So I think that what we need you to do,
less than 3 more
cycling
than one.
Fans, USA Cycling members, grassroots members of USA Cycling. We need you to get on Twitter, and we need you to hit up USA Cycling, hit up the Prez at USA Cycling, and say, hey, how about you go on the Slow Ride podcast for some inquisitive questions? We want to hear you. Now, the key is we need to do this tactfully, but we want to raise the profile of USA Cycling and the new president, that I think we can pull this off.
Yeah, so definitely go tweet at USA Cycling. Tell them to get DBH in touch with the Slow Ride podcast, and we'll have his people talk to our people and work it all out.
Our people are us.
Yeah,
we're our people. But
that is as grassroots as we get. Now, you guys saw that email. I mean, we did a lot of cool things on there. I mean, I introduced that we've collectively have promoted over 20 races. We've complained about a couple hundred.
Oh yeah,
at least.
We helped promote the greatest cyclocross after party in history. I even included the license numbers, so he knows that we're licensed members of USA Cycling. Now, I hope that he doesn't, in fact, check our results, because when you look at our results, they are a little lacking.
I believe I had quite a few
results,
16th places, though, if I remember.
See, that's good.
Yeah.
He'll be impressed. If he's listened to the podcast, he'll be impressed. Otherwise, he'll make no note of it.
Two of the 3 of us have been USA Cycling officials in the past.
Yep. Oh, I forgot about that. I should have added that on our
resumes. I had moto certification, so I can drive a motorcycle around and probably not kill people.
I volunteered as radio tour. That should count.
Yeah, I've done.
I probably cursed at an official.
Yeah,
I've escorted someone to take a pee with a chaperone.
I moved a turtle out of the way of the entire women's pro field at Nature Valley Grand Prix while doing time board on the motorcycle.
There you go. So, everybody, go tweet Derek Bouchard-Hall, the new president of USA Cycling. He can be found at D Bouchard-Hall, all one word, Bouchardhall. Google him. Great guy. And I really, truly believe that he is going to come on this podcast and fulfill my idea that he is going to save USA Cycling from the darkness that it currently resides in.
We'll find out.
So. I hope he can lower the prices for my races too, because I'll have to never do a UCI race again if the price keeps going up. I'm already
$200 for a license and $65 for a race day. And
so the races were the rate like for Jingle Cross this year, it went up in price, and so the license went up already, and then each race went up in price.
So here's the question: do you belong in those races?
So wait, do I only belong in those races if I have like a lot of money? Is that
like
what you're
trailer?
saying?
Well, I guess that
bus and everything.
Yeah, I mean, like
that's what I feel like. I mean, I feel like if that's the case, then then a bunch of people won't be in those races.
I feel like a little bit of that entry fee is going to the privilege that you get to hang out with a nude Steve Tilford in their dressing room for a while.
You know what? I don't think he was carding people at the door. I think anyone that had to pee and just randomly walked in that stinky ass men's room after that race could have seen Tilford holding court naked, telling everybody about the olden days.
So
I don't think that was just because I had been in the race with him. I don't even think he knew that the guy shivering in the corner had been out there with him.
Now, little guy, I've got two questions here. And first off, you missed a perfect opportunity for a segue, and I'm going to try to give you that opportunity again. But secondly, do you as a amateur, and I won't go, I wouldn't even say elite amateur, and don't take me wrong. I think that there's
it's fine.
Quite a few. I think you're just a quality amateur. Do you think at some point you should not be doing the UCI races? I mean, you're kind of getting lapped out there all the time. That's at what point does the little guy just concentrate on a Cat 1-2 race?
Well, one, there isn't a Cat 1-2 race. There's a Cat 2-3 race.
Okay.
I don't think there's a Cat 1-2 race.
No, just a 2-3.
2, I guess. Well, one, I'm not getting lapped all the time, but also like what I guess I don't know. I guess like what the qualifications to be in those races, I guess, shouldn't just be that you got somebody to give you money. You know what I mean? Like if you meet a criteria to race it, you should be able to race it. And at a certain point, it becomes prohibitive. Like you can't just actually meet the category standards to be in those races, because you have to meet the category standards and you have to meet the either getting signed on a big team or spending half your time stumping to get a whole bunch of personal sponsors and shit.
So what's your current category right now?
I'm a 2.
So shouldn't you be doing the 2-3 race and not muddying the waters of a Jeremy Powers, Jonathan Page showdown?
Well, it is one, they won't be having a showdown. 2,
yeah.
2, it's a pro 1-2. I don't think it's like I didn't cheat my way into the race. I am the lowest. I will say I'm definitely the lowest category in the race. But at the same thing, I've never been last in one of these races. I've truthfully never been the worst rider out there on any given day. And so I guess I continually feel like, I know I'm not the best out there, but I'm not the worst. And somebody has to be toward the back third, regardless of who starts. Someone will be in the back third. You know what I mean? So do you
feel? Well, no, little guy. Look, I personally believe, and I enjoy seeing you in those races. I believe that you belong there, and I was trying to give you the perfect segue into your successes. Into your success this past weekend. So here I am. Let's try this again. Okay. Hey, little guy, do you really feel that you deserve and belong in Jingle Cross with the top UCI talent from around the world?
Shouldn't you just be racing some local scrubs?
No, because I got on a podium locally, so that means I should totally get lapped at a UCI race.
Wait, you got on a podium? Tell me more.
I got second place in a bicycle race. It was called Starcross 2. It was during the day. Didn't see any stars. But it was still a fabulous race.
Did you have a bucket?
I did not have a bucket.
Did you have food in your hands?
A bag. I didn't have food in my hands. I had nothing weird going on in that podium picture. I just was wearing the skin suit, and I walked up there, and I put my arm up, and I waved, and I collected my little envelope, and I shook hands, and it was great. It was a good race.
Not bad.
So wait, you're saying
I got beat by Dominic, who's been crushing everybody lately, and I could not follow him, so I had to race for second.
So you're saying you went to the podium and you didn't bring your bike?
No.
Did you bring
Nobody brought their bike.
Did you bring a helmet?
No, I don't think any of us had helmets or bikes. I think we did it pretty well. I think that was a pretty good podium.
Did you have both arms up?
No, I had one arm up. Okay. I had my outside arm.
Looks like third place had his arm up.
Hey, you got to give us a little leeway. We had no helmets on. We had no bikes up there. We had no
really,
other
at the end of the day, that's pretty good. Nobody has Birkenstocks on. Nobody has street clothes.
If I'd had Birkenstocks there, I would have.
Now, I see this podium logo. You sent us the picture. And look, I know it's a Cat 1-2 podium because you're on it and the winner. But looking at that podium with both arms up by third place, I'm starting to, it kind of is looking a little bit like maybe a 45-plus podium. And, I know the third place guy, great dude. One of the best chefs in all of Minnesota. But,
Yeah. I don't know. You'll have to take it up with him. I don't have anything. I don't think it really muddies the waters too much of a quality race.
Okay, what are these socks you're wearing in this photo? They're amazing.
Those are the socks I bought when we were in Richmond. They're I don't remember what they're called, but they're blue and they've got a whole bunch of gradients of blue on them, and I forget the brand. I remember we went in that pop-up shop. That's not really helping. We went in 75 pop-up shops when we were in Richmond.
Yeah.
Was this at the Starlight one?
I don't know. It was right by the finish line. Cutaway. It was in the Cutaway, but they're not Cutaway socks. They're like Ridge Supply or something.
Okay. They're good-looking socks. Anyway, they look nice with the yellow Mavic shoes.
Hey, congratulations on the podium with your fellow compatriots. And this goes right into perfectly. We'd like to thank all of the folks that actually sent in photos for us to critique.
Oh, yeah.
And I think on Twitter, we did actually a pretty good job. The feedback I got from a lot of these folks is that we guessed it right away. Like, hey, looks like a Cat 3. Jonathan Crane, at Jonathan Crane. Hey, thanks, guys. I think that was the result of a wide-angle payout. Mm-hmm. At least there are no podium bikes. It was a 5-person podium. There was one podium helmet. And there were some food and the old pint glass with the check inside the pint glass.
Nice.
Not that bad. That. It's an old promoter critique, but that was from Alabama.
Some food on the podium?
That's kind of a nice touch.
Is the food on the podium like the old burrito behind the back kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of the old burrito behind the back, or
I didn't
from
realize.
Sunday. Well, here it is.
See, the problem with the thing is like at all these races, a lot of times you don't know when the podium's going to be. So like a couple weeks ago when I made a podium, I didn't know we were doing the podium. I started eating a sandwich. I got called. I had to hide it behind my back. This one happened really quick. I didn't even have time to get to my bag yet. And get out my food and my snacks and stuff.
So Jonathan Crane, he actually tweeted us. He said, "I'm on the second step, both hands up, podium helmet and food in both hands. Judge me." To which I said,
hands.
Yeah, I said Cat 3. And that's definitely that's like beer. So what looks like he's got a beer and then using his pointer and his middle finger to hold a granola bar. And since he's got the old laser helmet, so the glasses don't exactly fit into the openings at the top of the helmet. So they're kind of sticking out at a nice 40-degree angle. So good stuff over there. Jonathan Crane, thanks for listening. And what's amazing is someone in Alabama actually listens to this show.
Yeah.
You think that we'd be banned.
It's a good chance.
Does a lack of socks, Ryan Martin on Twitter says, does a lack of socks deny an upgrade? To which we say, absolutely. This guy from Team Louisville, not only is he not wearing socks, he's got that old muddy leg syndrome that goes on. You know when you wear your you have your mud, and then you take off the socks, and you have So it looks like a reverse farmer's tan. In third place at the most recent race out there in Louisville. Looks pretty good overall. A good looking podium, but definitely I would say Cat 4 or 5. Little guy, you'd be happy to know that my dad was very excited to hear you talk about Birkenstocks with socks.
I heard that. I heard that.
And he walked all around Florida with his Birkenstocks with a pair of socks in his back pocket, but thankfully it was a little too warm for that, and he didn't have.
Wait, so he actually carried the socks with him just in case the temperature dropped. Maybe like a light breeze came up, and he's like, "Whoop, better put socks on."
Yeah, pretty much. We have another couple of podium critiques. Now, over in Ohio, where they had the Blooming Cross of the OVCX series, the old classic, only 2 people on the podium and a missing third step. So there's different podiums that you have, right? Like you have the milk crate podium, which I'm a fan of. Mm-hmm. This one had just 2 boxes. One box taller than the second box. Then if you're third place, you're not even on the podium. You're just on the ground. That was a pretty good, definitely a Cat 3 podium there in Ohio. And, just lots of other great stuff coming in. So always tweet us at the Slow Ride Pod. I'm pretty excited, guys. This week I get to go up to the Baltimore, D.C. area, and I'm going to get to hang out with the Crosshairs crew. Have any real-life questions we need to ask about, real cyclocross fans, aficionados, and podcasters, we can definitely do that. So, speaking of cross, since that's really the only racing going on besides the start of 6-day season, the Super Prestige was this past weekend. And any excitement in the Super Prestige, little guy? I wasn't able to watch it.
It was a good race. I think generally very exciting. Wout won again. Sven got second. But I was going to ask you guys, did you see the move that Wout's mechanic made in the pits? I guess I'm just asking Spencer because Tim didn't watch it. You see it maybe second or third lap or something?
No, I did not see this. Tell me more.
So they're coming into the pits. I think Sven was maybe first. He was leading him through early on there. And Wout was maybe third or fourth or something. Mm-hmm. But his mechanic was before Sven's mechanic. And I got to find the moment in the video where this is. But Wout's mechanic totally slings out Wout's bike. Like sort of faking like he thought maybe he was coming and he had to jump out. But Sven had to make an evasive move around him in the pit to not get hit by this bike. But he did it in such a way that was just kind of I'm kind of trying to make this look casual, but I'm also just doing this to slow you down and make you adjust your line and kind of mess you up. And it made me wonder if that's a common thing in the pits, because I feel like I've watched enough races where it seems like they're all pretty good about that. That seems pretty low and the sort of thing that could develop into fisticuffs between old, surly Belgian men burning each other with cigarettes
that are 8 beers in.
Yeah, I bet it could, but I bet you that was a carefully crafted move.
It seemed like something they practice almost, just to piss him off. But seems like the sort of thing that could really backfire, in a year when your guy is out with a knee injury and you're looking for a job, and Sven Nys needs a mechanic. And he's like, oh, no, hell no.
Screw that guy. Well, we did hear a lot about pro-level pit politics when we interviewed Matt Roy back on episode 35, where he was talking about how the Belgians and the Netherlands teams just pick the pits furthest away from each other because, it doesn't matter if it's the best pit or not. They just don't want those guys learning any other tricks kind of stuff. So, I bet there's all kinds of weird stuff like that happening.
It was really weird. It was shady. It happened quick. The cameras didn't show a replay of it or anything, but anyway, I don't know. Second or third lap. The same man who wins every race. Wout
it's kind of
Van
becoming the seismic shift. I think you're correct, right? I mean from last week.
Sven's right there. He was with him for a lot of the race. He got dropped. He pushed the pace. He ended up second. He came around Kevin, Kevin and Lars are the only other guys who've won. It's been Kevin, Lars, and Wout. I don't think anyone else has won a race this year.
Can you update me, little guy? is this Sven's last year, or does he have one more left?
This is it.
This is it. So
yeah, you should be watching all these races. This is it. I guess we can say good cyclocross news recently, French related, is that Gadret is coming back to cross.
Hey, speaking of Movistar.
Oh, you're just going to switch off Gadret?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Carlos Betancourt is back, and he is now talking about, we will see if it's between if AG2R was right or if I was right. So he's kind of putting the gauntlet.
Right about what? Like, what is he arguing? They were right. You're fat, and you're going to show up skinnier, and you're going to race
Did you see pictures of him at training camp?
He has to show up skinnier because he can't show up fatter.
Did you see pictures? Did you see pictures of him at camp?
No,
when they were getting their new kits and everything.
You would say that AG2R was wrong about that they were hey, you should train.
So there was no pictures of him in the kit because he's still technically under contract with AG2R.
And he's probably technically still too heavy to fit in it correctly.
So they had pictures of him at camp. They had pictures of him at camp, kind of street clothes, I think is what I saw on one of the cycling websites. He's looking pretty good, but or pretty big. But this reminds me of my time when I used to work at UPS. I don't know if I've ever told you guys about this, but my first week at UPS, I purposefully did not move or throw a lot of boxes, right? Because I wanted to set the bar so low that they weren't wow, this guy's a really hard worker. I know he can do it, so I'm really going to ride him hard. Now, this has not helped me get through life very well, so I've had to change that tactic. But maybe that's what he's going for. Maybe he's going for hey, I'm going to come into camp so heavy, so out of shape that there's only potential. There's only a chance to get better, and that could be nice.
Terrible strategy.
Now the big announcements out of Movistar camp was that Valverde is going to be doing the Giro, and he's going to be doing the Tour, and then you have Nairo who will be doing the Tour and the Vuelta. So they're kind of there's always going to be one of their top GC leaders at one of the big Grand Tours. That's kind of exciting, and then also.
I was just saying when they set up Valverde's thing, he comes in for a conference with the directors and they're starting to talk about what he wants to do next year, and he just takes out the whole schedule and circles it and says, I'm going to do every single race.
Absolutely.
And they're okay, you can't do every race. We have a lot of riders on the team, and he's like, but I could do them all. I mean, I'll do it. I
can almost win all of them.
Yeah, I'll get 5th place at every race on the calendar next year.
Hey, this is Mo Bruno Roy, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
Now, can we talk about the other? Movistar seems to be the first one that had their big camp in kind of press unveiling. So they did unveil the new kits, and we always talk about kits on this show. So did you guys see the new Movistar kits? The big difference is obviously that the M is bigger on the front, and then it says Movistar on a larger font underneath, and then
I thought it was Movistar,
and then the white rear panel on the back, kind of on the pockets.
It's a little weird.
It was a little strange, definitely surprising. I'm wondering if they're going after kind of the view from the helicopter idea, hey, now you're going to pretty easy to see the white panel.
Yeah.
But then again, that white panel is also, kind of right around where the pockets are, and that's where the racers tend to put their race numbers. So I don't know how much that white panel will be showing up, because it could be just covered by numbers anyway. But what do you guys think of that kit?
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's about all I could say. It was fine. It wasn't gross, or it wasn't it's terrible, or the last one was 10 times better. It was it's different, but it's cool.
It's still the same.
I'm fine with it.
It'll
grow on me, probably.
Yeah, it's a classy kit. I've always been a fan of it since it came out. Just because it's relatively simple, it's a nice, solid, dark blue, and they haven't messed with it too much over the years, which I'm always a big fan of. FDJ does that. Credit Agricole has kind of done that while they were still around. Those type of Cofidis even.
It is pretty simple to tell what team it is, right? Like it's like very clearly that's the Movistar team. Right. And then when you get those the cat-like helmets, the blue and green, like it is a very definitive look.
Helmet.
Yeah. And then you have the Canyon bike. So I mean, it's anyways, it was just the first one that's come out. I mean, I'm really excited to see the Dimension Data kit. To see what that looks like, to see if they're going to continue the stripes.
Yeah, they're going to stick with Foot Locker, or are they going to, branch out into some new territory?
God, I wish they were sponsored actually by Foot Locker.
And then speaking of kit news, I mean, we mentioned briefly, but I mean, this is the last year of Rafa sponsoring Team Sky, so that one is out there as well.
So and who's doing it now? Do we know?
Well, Rafa is doing it now, and that's what's amazing about this whole thing is that
2016, who's taking it over?
Oh, it doesn't matter. They've already got a template to use their crayons and color within the lines. They just make a black and with a blue stripe, and they're good to go.
I mean,
but you gotta. I mean, it feels hard for whoever comes in because they want to obviously put their own stamp on it.
But it's the same kit that Adidas did, and then Rafa did. It's kind of like their identity is that kid.
But I feel like it's like a losing proposition for whoever sponsors them because people will see it and they'll think Rafa still. You know what I mean?
Well,
I hear you.
See, if I was a clothing company, I'd come in, I'd do the exact identical kit and charge, a regular amount of money for it. And then a ton of people would buy it. And you'd make that money back. The design work's already done for you. Everybody wants that look, but they can't afford the price.
That's a good point. You just capitalize off all the people that wanted to buy one and haven't bought one yet.
Right.
I mean, the big one that's still out there is Europe car is gone. Mm-hmm. So now green is up for grabs. There isn't really kind of that. I mean, even Europe car was kind of almost like a gradient green to black. Mm-hmm. I'm talking Credit Agricole green. I mean, the green kit could be nice. Maybe other teams have suggestions on what teams are out there that could do a revolutionary change and really step up.
Cannondale has the green.
They sure do.
But it's like a neon green, and I don't know.
It's true, but they kind of, if nobody else has green in the peloton, I mean, they're going to have the green on lockdown.
I can tell you
it's going to kind of
the answer to this question.
What's the answer?
The last time that I designed an LGR kit, we took over purple, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys have kind of given that up. I don't know what's up with that, but it's fine. But purple is out there, and no Pro Tour team has even attempted to go there.
No one has ever attempted.
Well, there's got to be some team from the '80s, around during Word Perfect.
I mean, I don't know.
That has the purple.
I can't think of anything. I mean, obviously.
All right, so Team Purple. There you go. Purple could be I'm with you, Spencer. I think purple's a great idea. Yeah. Someone could absolutely own that. You know who could take purple and actually do quite well with it? Is that Wanty team.
Yeah, they got that nice babyish blue though.
Yeah, but
it's classy.
It's classy.
I like the Wanty kits.
Okay. Well, it's out there. Maybe Team Norvo Nordisk, right? They've got that weird white blue kind of template look. They could go all purple, which is the color of blood when it's in your body, right? Before it gets and then.
I don't know, Dr. Hayes. You tell me.
I think it's more of a blue, personally, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's
all right,
kind of weird.
So the other, we got off on a little bit of a tangent on cycling kits. But let's go real quickly back to USA Cyclocross. The big news is Logan Owen finally wins his first UCI race of the year, goes back-to-back out in Seattle.
Is that big news?
I think it's big news because he has only done a handful of races this year. He hung with the All-Stars at out in Derby City. And I think that he's calling his shot to go after that title at Nationals in Asheville. And I think that he is the future of American cycling on almost all disciplines. He's won a UCI World Cup. I think that he's going to be the dude.
I guess you guys think he has a chance at Nationals? Because
I think he has a top 5. I think he'll be top 5.
Well, okay. That's fine. Because I say Powers and Hyde. And Powers is obviously dominant. Stephen Hyde is obviously he's thereabouts on most days. I mean, before he beat Powers, he was getting second.
Then you have
Powers,
Trayvon.
Yeah, Trayvon's coming good.
So who else
it's
would
good
be?
to see. I'm happy to see that he's getting better because
I would say Trayvon would be maybe third.
Talking on the internet.
Trayvon might get a. Oh, come on, man. He's the greatest thing to happen to the internet.
No, I
there needs to be more
agree.
pros like him on the internet.
I agree, but at the same time, it's nice to see him doing well in some bike races because for a while the only bit of Trayvon you got was just him talking shit on the internet, which is great, but like it was nice to have him talking shit and then getting results.
Yeah, what else are you supposed to do when you're injured, though? Really?
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess that's the. So who else do you have up there in the top 5? I mean, I think Logan Owen's definitely got to be in that conversation. What, maybe
obviously Driscoll's fifth.
Okay.
He's always fifth. When's Driscoll not fifth?
Yeah. There'll be some dark horses who will come good by then, too. You know, like Anthony Clark's had a handful of podiums this year at races. He could be a surprise. I don't know. There's definitely a few. There's the new. We're at that tipping point where the new crop is getting faster than the old crop that we're used to, and it's kind of an exciting time in the.
So who's the old crop that we're used to, though? Tim Johnson, Jonathan Page?
Well, I mean, Tim Johnson hasn't been racing for a couple of years, but exactly. John Page. The names that are usually up there. Ben Burden has been up there the last few years.
True.
Even Adam Craig, guys like that.
What do you guys think about this then? Because we were talking about this before, the schedule being different, there not being a national series, but there's more UCI races. Do you think the fact that there are so many more UCI races now than a few years ago, no national series, but like there's more really high levels. So maybe there's not as many as those like same USGP level of races, but there's more races right below that. You think that is helping raise this general bar? Because it feels to me like the general bar is being raised, and maybe at the top it's still a few guys, but like the bar is coming up because
with all due respect,
more opportunities to race.
I don't
races
see
that aren't maybe quite that highest level, but you don't have to travel across the whole country to do one or two big races. You can stay close to home and still do some like harder races than local races.
Little guy, I hear what you're saying, but with all due respect, I think a lot of the people that are filling out these UCI races are racers such as yourself that are good local racers, but they're not that super top level that need to be competing day in and day out with the best, and that's what you get at the national series, right?
But what do you think? But what do you think if there's a national series, right? And there's like 7-8 races, and pretty much the biggest guys show up. But my theory is that like the guys that are a little below those biggest guys, if there's more UCI races, then it's more likely that like the best guys from like Minneapolis or like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois will all race against each other, as opposed to being like, why drive like to go do a local race in Chicago?
Okay.
Like if there was a UCI race in Chicago, then you'd get all the surrounding
if they travel
best riders.
I mean, I don't know if right now. I mean, look at there's a lot of areas of the country that hardly even travel to those races. But I think I understand your point, and that makes even more sense how you clarified, kind of the regional cream of the crop, and then you get the better racers get even faster because they're racing better competition. Sure. I just don't know how many people are actually traveling to these things. And I know Spencer will probably want to chime in about how that is what's happening in New England. But I mean, what, Spencer, after the top 10 in New England, are we really seeing a high quality racers, or is there just a bigger scrub zone?
There's definitely high quality racing outside the top 10. I mean, if I want to look at Providence,
but Providence is like high level, like lots of national guys are going to that race.
That's what New England racing is, buddy. Like,
no, but I'm saying
Dan Timmerman's outside of the top 10.
So who are in that top 10 though? Like who was inside the top 10 of Providence? Like you got Burden, right? Driscoll. I mean, you have a lot of national guys at that. I think little guy, you're talking more about like a, Cincinnati, maybe not even Cincinnati, but one of these like kind of little bit lower UCI races, like that one that's in
like
Tennessee.
Rochester,
Kingsport,
like okay. Well, like these
Nittany Cross.
It's a UCI race, but it's not
Nittany Cross.
It's not going to be
Day
quite the biggest
one. Let's see.
Well, wait, Nittany Cross had like the guys that show up before Interbike.
We got the Belgian. We got Dan Timmerman. We got Cameron Dodge, who's another. He's a sneaky dark horse for the podium. We got Curtis White, Kerry Warner, Jeremy Duran, Anthony Clark, Ben Burden, Dan Chabanov, Robert Marion, all there in the top 10.
So those guys that every one of those guys does a fair amount of travel, right? Like Robert Marion right now is racing in Belgium, and he's getting all the fans because of his beard, which is awesome. And it's great.
Yeah.
Sure, but generally what I'm saying is he's doing Mid-Atlantic and New England, and that's what all those dudes that I just named are doing.
Because you just named a race that is in the Mid-Atlantic or New England.
Yeah, I named a UCI race, one of the first of the year. That actually, you named it.
So how's that UCI race in Los Angeles?
Oh, I don't know.
Who shows up to that?
Well, the West Coast fast guys. All I'm saying is it brings all the fast guys from a tri-state region at least to that race, which elevates the game somewhat. Like, it's one thing. It's just like this thing racing locally here. Like, there's like 4 or 5 of us that always somewhat be near each other, right? And it's great, but at the same time, it's a completely different ballgame when you go somewhere else and you're racing with people that you don't know how they race. You know,
it's exciting.
You don't know. It's exciting, but I'm just saying it raises the level in a different way because when you're racing the same people every week, at a certain point, you're like, well, I'll never try to attack on the straights with this guy because I'll never beat him in the straights, right? But if you're racing with some new people, you're like, well, I got to give it a go, you know? I don't know where I can beat this person. Maybe I feel terrible on the hill today. I'm going to try on the straight. And maybe you drop someone in a place you never thought you could. You know what I mean? Like you ride... You ride a little more adventurously.
All right. Well, it definitely makes for better racing when better people are there. So having a UCI race is definitely great. It just seems that there's so many, and I'm a big fan of like a direct 8-race national level series that could just be a lot of fun to watch on the internet. Because they're never going to come to Florida.
Yeah, that's true. They won't.
So, guys, let's move on to the biggest news of the week.
Scarponi on Twitter. Oh my God, the pictures of him and his kids in little like cute Halloween costumes. They got like tiger outfits on or some shit.
Little guy, I love you. Love you like a brother. But nope, not what I'm talking about. Of course, I am talking about the... Yeah, Spencer?
You must be talking about the Peter Sagan wedding.
The wedding of the century.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
My gosh, guys, I am going to release a dove of excitement just so we can talk about...
Release a dove of excitement.
Just so we can talk about what Peter Sagan pulled off at that wedding.
I want a t-shirt that just says release a dove of excitement.
Guys, hashtag dove of excitement.
Dove of excitement.
Yep.
So, dudes, let's talk a little bit about this wedding. Did you see the pictures?
Oh, I saw the pictures.
Oh, man.
Yes.
That's some good stuff.
It's really good stuff. He had a good wedding.
He's a stylish man. People like. I like
that it was
shit,
covered.
But,
I like that it was covered on the like the equivalent of TMZ of like Europe. Yeah, of Slovakia. But just like the whole. Oh man, like what a great event. Like I wish I could get invited to that wedding.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, you can. We didn't get press passes for that, unfortunately.
You think we could have pulled it off?
Affair. I don't know if we could have. I mean, he saw me and Spencer at his press conference at Worlds, so I mean, we're like pretty good buddies.
We made solid eye contact more than once. Did you see the
picture of him?
Yeah.
You see the picture of him like holding the chainsaw with one hand?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like there was like he like cut the log like some big giant tree. Like, like I don't know what it was a symbol of, but he like cut something, then he holds the chainsaw in his hand. He's got this like crazy overcoat on.
Yep.
Oh man.
With the very
golden,
very latticed, lush, fancy I don't know what, naval inspired jacket.
The thing I read said it was traditional.
Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know anything about those traditions.
And his hair was just like kind of like, what is that? Little frosted tips, maybe a little bit on there.
Well, it's tastefully done. I'm just saying, if and when the day ever comes, I may have to travel to Slovakia to have a wedding.
I don't know if they're all like that, but maybe Peter Sagan, maybe you can hire the same person that did his wedding, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I would need to rent the same tiny bicycle on a tightrope to ride it across the gap that he did.
That was really cool.
It was.
Wait,
super
what
cool.
did he ride? He rode a bike.
He
that's
rode
right.
like a weird little bike on a line.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Good stuff, guys. So I do want to, now that we're over the most important news, to much lesser news, I know you guys have heard, but Swift Cycle, the shop that I helped start with my good friend Keith Richards up in Gainesville, Florida, will be closing its doors on the 24th of December when our lease runs out. It's been a great 3 years. I know I appreciate your guys' support on it. Keith is moving back to Oregon to be with his family, and now that I'm here in Orlando, I'm no longer involved really day to day. And I mean, let's be honest, if I was there still, it would have closed maybe like 7 months ago. So, it's a little sad to see the store go, but it's been a lot of fun. I can't wait till a January episode where I can tell you all about the excitement of being a shop owner. I will say I got several nice text messages from friends today. And quite a few asking if we had, other sale opportunities.
Yeah, I was wondering too about I need an entire new road bike, and I was wondering if you had anything 85% off.
Yeah, 85. Well, we're not there yet, but
I have $85. What kind of road bike what can you set me up with?
There's a lot of people asking guys for T-shirts, pint glasses, all types of things that we've been sold out of in the past. Especially the world famous cycling caps were all out. But again, a lot of fun owning a bike shop. I have nothing but advice to give people that are thinking of opening a bike shop.
Nothing but advice.
And so there's that.
Would you do it again, Timmy?
Absolutely.
Not even necessarily this one, but would you, if in a future time someone was like,
yes,
hey, let's start a bike shop or something, would you be like, yes, or would you be like, screw this crap?
I would definitely think about it. I believe that a bike shop opening up in the correct market with the right type of outlook could be done. It's definitely tough in today's world. I mean, you're competing against so many things, so you got to make sure that you're working with brands that make the most sense, where you can get the most margin, and you're not going to be competing all the time online. So it takes a little bit of time. You also need to have a top-notch service department, which can really go a long way. So there's lots of other little things that you need to do to pull it off, but I think if done correctly with the right identity and the right community behind it, you can definitely do it. For us, one of the big successes was just the whole image branding of our store. So I felt that we did a good job there, and we kind of created a lot of our own events that people became to knew us for, and that definitely helped, right? Like that allowed us to kind of become our own identity for a small college town in Florida. So, we're getting thank you notes from people that live now in DC and elsewhere around the country that are from Gainesville saying thanks for bringing something cool to Gainesville. So, that's definitely
cool.
With it. So,
That's really cool.
So with that, guys, we do need to get going for the week. But real quick, and third, just a quick conversation. It is training time of year. It is time to be on your trainer. Maybe not down here in Florida. And guys, I have done a lot of things on trainers. I have watched football games and done my intervals during commercials, which knowing American football, that's a lot of intervals. So I lasted about half a quarter.
That would have been the most training you ever did.
Probably the best thing I ever did was when Xbox came out, they created the cordless controller. So I was able to play video games while on the bike. That was fun, but probably totally worthless. So do you guys have any tips or advice for our listeners that are maybe listening to us right now on the trainer? And then we'll wrap it up for the day.
I try to not ride the trainer. I never rode it once last year. I'm pretty proud of that. It was pretty great. I also got slower and fatter than I'd ever gotten in an off season. So there's that. Kind of really, I had some trouble in the spring. Hills were painful for a while there. I watched the Freshman one time. Really great movie. You should watch it. It's really funny. I watched that one time. That was probably my best experience on the trainer.
Oh, okay.
That's what I got.
How about you, Spencer?
I spent a couple years riding the trainer over the winter, watching the the old races on DVD or whatever. But they got pretty old, so I tried to spice it up. I kind of did what Tim was talking about, like pretty much worthless spinning around on the trainer, not really doing the work. So then I invested in rollers, and that sure kept me on my toes. You got to focus a lot more. There's no, wandering off into space in your mind, really, or else you wander off the side of the rollers and crash into your coffee table, which I did several times. But since those days, that has gotten a little old as well. And this year, you guys, I'm going all in. Gonna invest in the fat bike. Yep, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it happen.
Oh God.
So you're a previous fat bike owner, and then you got rid of it, and then you talked some fat bike trash for a few years, and now you're back. I'm assuming full carbon tie bolts. You're going to try to keep the weight down to 45 pounds?
No, absolutely. I'm going the other direction. I'm going full Walmart fat bike. I don't want to spend more than $200 on this thing.
You get one of those mongooses or whatever?
Mongoose, yeah. I don't know.
But at this point, there's so many fat bikes. I mean, like the local Craigslist here, at least, it's just filled with fat bikes. Everybody bought one, and everyone's like, oh, either upgrading or not riding it.
I'll tell you what, like everybody in Minneapolis has 3 or 4 fat bikes, but the wave has not quite crested in New England yet. Like we are at, I would say, 2008 levels of fat bike here, 2008 Minneapolis levels. You know what I mean? So you don't see people commuting on them every single day. Like you might see 1 or 2, winter riding around in the city, but you see them all over in the woods right now. So,
oof.
What? See, the only fat bike I would consider getting are those really early generation Pugsleys that have canties, because they look hilarious.
Yeah,
those canty brakes are so teeny, and I mean canties look small anyway, and you put them next to a fat bike wheel. 1, that thing's not going to stop, and 2, it's funny looking. And I would consider one of those, but I would still probably not.
I think you should look at a Walmart fat bike.
The ones with coaster brakes look pretty sweet.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Yeah, if I could find one for like $25 on like Craigslist and just maybe ride it for a day and then abandon it somewhere, that'd be pretty fun.
I bet you could do that.
Just really go all out all day. Just see if you can break it.
I mean, it's all about the fat bike. The fat bike is the future, guys. I think that may be the demise of Swift Cycle. I got to talk to Keith, but maybe it's because we didn't specialize in fat bike sales.
Did you have fat bikes?
Yeah, we definitely ordered some. I mean, it's tough in Florida. And that's something that I want to ask Derek Bouchard-Hall is that, Fat Bike Nationals, is it always going to be in the middle of January at a snow course? Because fat bikes can be taken anywhere.
That's true. They were sort of pitched as the winter, but now
you can use them. Yeah, you can use them all over. And I think that could be, and there's definitely a lot of people interested in them. They are fun to ride.
Well, yeah,
as much as I want to make fun of them, like, cruising around on a fat bike and you don't even need to lift up the front end to get up on a curb. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you don't...
Spencer, you're going to edit that one out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
And I mean, to your point, Tim, about nationals, other sports could take this, advice to heart as well. Like skiing, like cross-country skiing, why are their nationals always in winter? You could definitely run down the street on a pair of skis. Like, there's no reason you can't. I mean,
yeah, that's a really good point.
People need to start thinking outside of the box if they want to continue to, to push the envelope. So that's my thought for the week.
Right.
Road nationals in January.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. You can also email us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com. Tweet us at the Slow Ride Pod. And most importantly, we'd like to thank BK1 of Rhymesayers Entertainment for our intro and outro music. And always, 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 you saw the tweet last week on our Twitter, wave at your fellow spandex wearing nerds or anybody riding a bike, even if it's a recumbent or a fat bike or a triathlete.
Not true.
It is. Yes, it is. Wave, 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 wave. And with that,
wave.
We'll see you next week on the Slow Ride Podcast. Tweet the president. Let him know you want him on the number one
Here's
podcast.
your final homework. We know you're wrapping it up. You're starting to close down the apps on your computer. Go to Twitter, twitter.com, log in, tweet at USA Cycling, use the hashtag Dove of Excitement, and ask for Derek Bouchard-Hall to join us on the podcast. We need peer pressure, you guys.
Alrighty.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod.